Hello, everyone. Next up, we have somebody who will take you through the past year of Hearts of Iron and what the future holds. So please rev up your engines for a real petrol head who'll fuel up your engines. There's fuel in Hearts of Iron coming. That's the joke. Don Lind.
Hi everyone. Thanks for the incredibly high-level joke, chums. My name is Dan. As you can see, I'm the game director for HOI4, and I'm gonna kind of take you through the past year of Hearts of Iron, a bit what we're doing now, which I suspect why you're here, and also a little bit about the future. And I'm gonna try and have a big question session at the end as well. There might be dogs in this presentation, and I don't even remember anymore why the dog is such a big part of Hearts of Iron. I think in Wiki 2 I did cats a lot, so maybe that's why. Right, the past and in review. So since last PDXCON, a lot of stuff has happened. We've released both Death and Dishonor, which was like a country pack, a little smaller expansion, and the one where we revamped air warfare and all that stuff. And then we did Waking the Tiger, which was our first really, really big expansion, and sort of what we're trying to follow up on now. And player activity during the year has kind of been crazy. And I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of statistics as well. I like numbers. I assume people like Hearts of Iron also like numbers. If you don't like numbers, you should probably leave. Anyway, the HOI fans are super loyal. Like half the player base plays regularly every month. A ton of players play like every day. I think that every day is like 130, 140,000 something. I marked out a little bit on these tips because it's interesting to see that you can see the release and you can see Together for Victory, you're getting more and more players. This is not accounts or bought copies. This is just many are actively playing that month. That's why you see, you get the expansion, people play it a lot, and then they play a little bit less over time. And we have Death and Dishonor is another big jump. Waking Tiger was a really big jump, but in between there, you can see all these little bumps. And a lot of that stuff is actually like big mod releases, actually, and stuff like that. Some of it is sales, just getting new blood in, but a lot of it is mods. What I found is people play the expansion, and they play a different mod, and use new expansion, so they can jump around like that. So I'm super grateful for the modding scene for keeping the game interesting even between releases. And since I said half, you can probably figure this out. And if you were at the announcement show, you actually heard me say this already. Hearts of Iron hit 1 million copies, which to me is pretty crazy. Since this is a little less serious presentation, I always get to have my dog in there. And you can see, here's actually the curve for total amount of players. So you can see it's ramping upwards. And to celebrate this, we're doing the anniversary edition. I hope everybody saw the cool diorama in the HOI booth. Otherwise, you go check afterwards. What this is basically a way for us to do a collector's edition when we didn't really know if it was going to work early, but now we do it 2 years after instead. And there's different packages. One was everything plus the statue, and one which is basically the statue. You basically get the base game for free to give to a friend, because I don't think there's a lot of new players just jumping in with not having played HOI before. Also, yeah, you get pre-order on the next expansion as with this. So, more numbers. 14% of HOI players play MP. I'm going to go into this even more in detail in the future, later in the thing. 17.5 play Iron Man. It's actually higher than I thought. I always feels a little risky when I play, so I like to do self-imposed Iron Man, but not everybody has that strength of will. 2% play on the 2 highest difficulty levels, fairly evenly spread. 43% play on the 2 lowest, and this is after Tiger, where we added actually even the civilian level. They're about evenly spread as well. And after this, I actually asked people like, so what, a lot of the community is talking about how the game could be harder, but there's a lot of people who actually think it's pretty hard. So I was like, I'm wondering, why do you play on civilian? And I got like a million PMs. I shouldn't have asked that. I should have asked someone else to do it. But anyway, what was interesting was one of the things that kept coming out was like, Hearts of Iron 4 is the game I play to relax. It's never really struck me that way, but then I started thinking like sometimes when I just like tweaking the AI and stuff, it's kind of nice to just like poke stuff, and it's kind of relaxing to watch stuff happen. So I think one of the reasons then is that, if you play on easy, you can make more mistakes, you can play more relaxed, and you're still gonna get to see what happens to the world. So it's almost like a little ant farm thing, almost like, oh, this stuff always happens in a different way. More numbers, and back to the modding community. 65% of players use some kind of mod, and this could be like colored buttons or something like that. 35% of all daily games, the actual percentage for like when you look at monthly or something like that is a little lower, but for daily, there's 35% are using like total conversion mods, so like Road to 56, Kaiserite, that kind of stuff. Which is, I think, is probably the highest of all our games. CK has some big stuff as well, but yeah. And here's the current ranking. I didn't write the exact percentages. Road to 56, Kaiserreich, and Millennium Dawn are the really big ones, and there's a bit of a drop for Great War, Old World Blues, and a couple other ones. Road to 56 and Kaiserreich tend to kind of like switch position, who's first, depending on when they do releases. So you can see them like go up and down. Kaiserreich had really low right off the Tiger release because they were doing so much stuff. And then they like shot up like a rocket. And now they're sort of down again, and now 56 is ahead of them. But the workshop has super grown as well. It's like 14,000 mods only on there. And recently we did that thing where you can mod new UIs as well. And there's a lot of new cool mods allowing you like almost new gameplay doing that as well. And something that people keep asking me about as well, what are the top nations? Germany has actually gone up after Tiger because the Kaiser path is so incredibly popular that the number's actually gone up. I think last year was like 23% or something. Soviet Union is number 2 here. Actually, I realize it's a little hard to compare because I put them on different sides, but these are like the original big ones on the left, so we'll do them first. America's pretty high up. I hope that's going to be even higher. For me, I think the historical America play is a little lacking in the beginning, and we're going to hope to make that a lot better in the next expansion. Japan got a little bit of a lift as well, because we changed a lot of stuff there. But then the big stuff that happens, like with Tiger releases, China and communist China got pretty high. Surprisingly, Poland is super high. I guess people like the old history thing and the challenge and all that stuff. A lot of people tell me they really like playing Poland. And then we start coming down to the little smaller numbers, but there's so many nations. This is still really popular when you compare to small nations. And these are kind of the DoD nations, and yeah, everything else is sort of floating around that has a focus tree. So if we're going to go look at, oh yeah, I think we have the ones without focus trees in the end, actually, yeah. There we go. So present, what are we doing now? We're doing this, which you guys know. Manned Guns is going to be our next big expansion, and it's going to be focusing on America and UK. America's going to be the poster boy, just because the propagandas are awesome. And it's going to be alt history stuff there. There's going to be a lot of focus on naval warfare. And together with this, of course, there's going to be the free update that we always do, and this one's called Ironclad. And it will have a lot of the free features, basically. Remember, this is super, super early. Like some of these features we haven't even started coding on yet, so probably I shouldn't even be saying any of this. So I'll have like team members screaming in the background somewhere. So anything could change that I'm talking about now, but I want to share it to PDXCON. First one, the big one, it got a lot of cheers. Naval revamp, we're going to add fuel, but it's not just for ships as well. It's for air and for land as well. This is going to be a really, really big balance impact on the game because almost every part of the game is going to be changing differently. You can't just like plonk down your entire navy anymore and just leave it like Britain could. And the big thing it's going to give to you as one of the nations that are most starved for resources, like Japan and Germany, is you're going to have to really think on when you use your stuff that uses fuel. If you're Japan, you can't just like send your fleet around doing not important stuff. You need to think about what you'll be using that fuel for. And on the flip side, this also means that we can bring something and boost up the stuff that's using fuel, like tanks, for example. Because now we have one more level to balance them with. So we can make tanks stronger, but hey, they use fuel now. So you can't, that means that there's a limit to how many you can use, right? Yeah, here's some other stuff. Of course, we're going to be doing a lot of changes to the naval system. You're going to be able to design ships. And don't think, rather than the variant system, there's going to be things like researchable components and things like that. And there'll be a big difference depending on what kind of changes to do, how expensive it's going to be to do the refits to these new models. But refitting means that you're going to be able to upgrade your old ships, right? Might be tricky for something like UK that has a huge fleet, so I expect they'll still have a lot of old stuff, just to guard less important areas. The big one here, I think that's going to make the whole thing work, is that we're going to redo spotting. Like detection works super bad for navies, and we're making like a whole new spotting phase that's going to kind of give you a warning when stuff is about to be spotted. It will also mean that ships can actively try and not be spotted by running away, whereas that system doesn't exist now. If you're spotted, you're basically fighting. And that's why you're seeing these like big death stacks smash into each other and kind of escalate and all that stuff. And when it comes to the combat system, the stuff we want to really put emphasis on is the composition should matter. We're going to be splitting up fleets into task force components, and those are going to have like much more visible stats to actually give you an idea of how they're going to be performing. So we're going to kind of bring back positioning, like if you're familiar with HOI4, and we're going to have a new one called screening efficiency, which is basically give you an idea how good are you actually, your light ships at protecting your big ships. And we need to give a lot of clarity here, right? The naval combat system, once enough stuff get in there, it's really hard to get an idea what's going on. So that's going to be a big hurdle for us to tackle. And we want to make sure that you have a lot of control. We don't want like, just because these light ships entered early, they're going to charge the enemy instead of guarding your carriers. We're going to give you control, how your parts of the fleet is going to be acting, and you're going to be able to set up before the naval battles. So the idea is to kind of give you more like almost like a planning feeling when you're setting up how your navies are supposed to act. And then we're adding naval terrain, and as you can see, the dog thinks that's just because I want to buff the Swedish Navy, and maybe a little bit, that's it. You can imagine fighting in the Swedish archipelagos, tiny small islands everywhere, as opposed to fighting in the middle of the Atlantic. It's completely different, right? And I think this is the first Paradox game that's really going to have you like have a different areas of the naval terrain actually matter, right? I don't think even HOI1 had that. So the things they were going to impact is things like, it's mainly detection, but also some performance. Light ships actually struggle in the middle of big oceans, with heavy weather and all that stuff. In the archipelago, big ships, it's not as easy. And light ships can, they can hide a lot better. There's some, if you've seen some camouflage pictures, for example, of navies in the archipelago in Sweden, outside Finland, stuff like that. It's a good place to hide. Something the Germans was trying out as well, right? There's also going to be lots of other naval changes. I can't really reveal much more about that stuff yet, because, as I said, it's super early. I'm going to have a little dev diary next week to kind of summarize some of the stuff that I've been talking to you guys, talk about the press, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're kind of early, so expect to see more reveals as we develop the expansion. Then we come to the countries. And I already said it's US and UK. And I hope everybody kind of freeze-framed through the trailer that we were showing on the announcement to see all the little old history hints going on in there. And the big one, as I said, is America. And there's going to be old history paths, and we're going to do it the same way we did Tigers. So there's going to be the historical stuff that's going to be changing in the tree, and it's going to be free for everybody in the patch. But then the new old history paths are going to be part of the expansions. And of course, for America, the South will be able to rise again for you pushing your country a little too hard on different issues. We're going to have interesting options for UK for some more interventionism, stuff with the monarchy. The dog thinks we're going to add corgis. I haven't really cleared that one with the content designers yet, but we'll see. I think it might be important for the Queen. Oh yeah, actually, I forgot to say, there's going to be some more nations as well. This isn't it, right? There's more stuff, but we can't really reveal them yet. What I can hint that there's going to be in the same areas, basically. So it's probably something on each side. But we really wanted to sort of focus in on democracy, even though I bet half of you are going to play the old history paths for these. But I feel like they need something to get them a little bit more oomph and not just be fascist nations with restrictions. Now, back to multiplayer. 40%, as I said, play. And 6% of that is competitive multiplayer. So like less than 1% actually do that. So if you look at the graphs here, like the blue is people playing co-op basically, or in a kind of friendly environment. This means, cooperative is kind of what we expect people to play, and competitive is really, really rare. Although that's why I hear most people who are really into the game are excited about. So that's why I say this is science as the dog, and the next slide is, let's focus on competitive multiplayer anyway, because screw science, right? What it's ever done for us. Because cooperative play, I feel, already works quite well, because you're going to be playing with your friend. I think 85% of multiplayer is like 2 people, you and a friend. And usually you'll be able to talk to them on Discord or something, right? So you have a lot of the tools already. What you don't have a lot of tools for is playing competitively, and I think that might be one of the reasons it's not as popular. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding kind of like a rule system to the games that you can set up in advance. And we're hoping that we can make this really moddable as well, so multiplayer groups can kind of like mod out their own rule sets and go like, oh yeah, we're playing with Podcast's cool rules 5 or something like that, and have mods of that. And because I think if you're going to bring in a random person on the internet to play multiplayer with you, you can't go read and I wrote 5 pages Word document here. I've seen people with 20-page rule documents. That's not a great way of finding people online, right? So the more stuff we can hard code into the game, it will make it better, right? And you don't accidentally risk breaking the rules if we built them into the game either. This also makes it so that for the future, we can actually start working with maybe features that we go well, if we add this feature, then everybody who is new is going to fail at the game because it'll be too hard. Or I go crazy and add flying saucers, and then a lot of people got mad at me because that's not very nice, right? If you like historical stuff. But now you can turn that off. So imagine how CK has done some of its more debatable features that really split the community, right? Not saying we're doing that right now, but it's good for future-proofing. The reason we're adding it now is to support multiplayer. And the future, there will be space dogs, I think. I don't know. And I'm going to keep this section a little short and just have lots of questions instead. But what we found is, we really want to keep supporting modding and give them more tools. Just like the stuff that's coming out is awesome. And a lot of people think we compete with mods, but we don't really. We think it's awesome when mods do super well. And we want to try and give them more tools and all that stuff, right? I mean, they have to buy the game anyway, so we get paid, right? But yeah, the scriptable UI has been super nice. I'm going to try and add stuff like that. So if you're in a mod group, you go like, I wish I had that. Make sure to tell us on the forum. Anyway, so after man the guns, we will have iterate on all the different kinds of warfare, right? So Tiger did a lot of stuff with land, Death for Dishonor did a lot of stuff with air, and now we're going to do a lot of stuff with Navy. So I feel like now we've kind of done the core stuff, so it's time for something that isn't necessarily warfare related. Whatever that will be, we'll see in the future. I think there's lots of areas where HOI can expand in there. There's things like time extensions, there's things like politics, we could definitely go deeper. Espionage, for example, is something that HOI doesn't really have. It's very limiting. Could do a lot of stuff there. I'm sure you guys have lots of dreams. Another thing that I've found is the HOI community play Hearts of Iron in lots of different ways. And I've started to really get we need to be able to tailor people's experience better, right? Because some people might go well, I want to play Venezuela, and then when the Kaiser has risen in Europe, I want to go in and help. But the chance of that happening without you going around and setting up the game yourself is not high, right? So we want to kind of let you prepare this in some way. We're not quite sure what form that will take, but it's something that I really notice a lot of people are asking about, so I want to make sure we can work on that in the future. As for other future endeavors, nations. So of course we're going to keep updating the core trees that came out with the game. Before we really realized that people love the old history aspects. I think France is decent for old history though, but Soviet Union not necessarily. So Soviet, France, Italy, and also Poland are nations that we kind of want to keep updating them. Because in this one, we're doing UK and US, so these are the only big ones left from the beginning. Which means that these are not going to be in the next expansion. Then we're looking at, what other nations don't have focus trees. Top one there is Turkey. People like to play Turkey. I guess it's the Ottoman dream, Ottoman Empire stuff. I think it's also a little bit of the location. I think they're in an interesting location. They tend to always join in multiplayer in one way or another because they can change things around. Brazil is really popular. Greece is really popular. Maybe it's all the Byzantophiles, I don't know. Spain's really popular, of course, right? They're also in a very interesting spot. Almost feels like there could be a Mediterranean pack thing going on here, maybe. Sweden, all of Scandinavia, also here a lot of people ask for. I think that would be pretty interesting as well. I think a reason they're not played more is because you kind of really need a proper focus tree to mirror a lot of the diplomacy stuff that be going on there. On the right, you can see a graph, and that gives you sort of the idea of what actually happens when we do a fully fleshed out tree for one of these nations that don't have stuff. And this is PRC, Nationalist China usage, jumping. And yeah, I mean, actually, after that cut off the curve, PRC actually goes above, so they're more popular than Nationalist China, actually, long term. Just after release, the Nationalists were higher. So you get this really big boost when you add some completely new gameplay. And then, let's have lots of questions. We will not have dazzle camouflage, unfortunately, but it's a cool dream that I don't think worked very well. But feel free to tell me I'm wrong in questions. And yeah, I think we have a mic over there that you can grab. I don't know if you can have a spotlight on that so people find it. You can see where the mic is, right? Yeah.
You said. Oh, I've got a question, if that's all right.
What?
I've got a question, if that's all right.
Yeah, just ask any questions.
Yeah. Yeah. You said about how you're going to add things to make rule sets easier to do in multiplayer. Have you thought about adding something like in the game or in the launcher for people who've played enough HOI4 to say, hey, click here to go to our multiplayer forum and discover multiplayer games? Because a lot of the time, it's about people don't know multiplayer exists as much as the rules are hard to enforce.
So basically, like, make it visible already. Yeah, I think like if you could do like already like in the launchers to like see available games or something. If anyone saw the GD talk, one of the things I said I would love to have, down the road for Paradox when it comes to Clausewitz engine and stuff, is much better discoverability. So you can go, this is our game, these are the rules we're doing, this is what we want you to play. We want this kind of experience level, like come join in here, so it's easy to find games to join, right? Yeah. You can probably, you have a queue actually behind, so if you put it up in the, in the mic holder there, it'll be smoother.
Hi.
Hi.
So my question is a little bit similar to previous question, but it asks, you said that you want the custom rule sets to be loaded somehow. But currently, to load anything that's custom, you need to restart the game. So,
well, not all of them. It depends on what the settings are, right? These things would actually be able to load properly. I mean, you couldn't do with the current engine tech, we couldn't say swap out the map without restarting the game. But the kind of rules I'm thinking about, here's an example of a rule I think I would put in. You can't go to war if you're a major nation outside of your focus tree until some majors are already. Something like that. A lot of MP groups use that, or say. Those kind of things, right?
So you say it would be possible to have this custom rule set without reloading the game?
Yes, exactly. So the host will set up the rules, right?
Yeah.
If it's super special rules that we haven't done that would require like a modded rule set or something, or totally new rules we didn't think about, then you would of course have to have the mod, right? Okay. But yeah, otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I was wondering whether you're satisfied with the way that the Waking the Tiger mechanics, especially for China, are implemented right now, because due to the complexity of how much stuff there's quite a few ways for things to break, especially with the struggle for leadership modifier for the nationalists. Are you doing some more work on that, or is that something that's more on the back burner right now?
I mean, we have a couple of like priority issue things that we're going to be putting into the backlog for either 1.6 or the patches right after it as well. For example, meaning the case where you have this weird thing where you're about to beat them and then say like Yunnan takes over or something, right? Yeah. That one kind of came up too late, so we didn't get time to get it in the last patch, unfortunately. But it's on our like prior list for future stuff for sure. So I mean, we're not going to completely leave the area. Honestly, like we focus on America, so the Pacific theater is still going to be pretty important balance-wise, right?
Question about naval bombers. Like there's a major battle, they are bombing trade convoys, or my transport's being sunk, they are bombing some destroyers. Any like plans for better control or at least transparency so I can understand what I'm doing wrong?
What kind of controls would you like?
Priorities maybe like go to help my fleet in action and don't just go spread over the entire sea region, something like that.
We don't really have details for that kind of stuff yet. I think it's something that would make sense, in the same way you could assign Air Force to your army, right? Assign it to Navy, and then it will only support that one, right? That kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a cool idea. It's not something we planned, but hey, maybe there's room.
Hi, I'm going to try to ask this question in general terms so you can answer it in general terms. But do you think by the time, or hope by the time that you're done kind of with the post-production of Hearts of Iron, that peace conferences involving a lot of AI, people with influence, will maybe show a little bit more moderation and a little bit less craziness than it does right now?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Peace conferences are perfect. No, absolutely. They're like in the top of my kind of design backlog pile of stuff that didn't really work out as I planned. So, you know, definitely there. I kind of tried to find a solution that would work for this expansion. The problem is when you start looking at it, it becomes a really big feature, actually, because you can't just tweak a little bit and get it working well. So I think that's going to be kind of like a big thing in another expansion. So don't expect to see like a big change to that. Hey, maybe I have like a super bright idea and go like, I'll just add this restriction, it'll be much better. But might be that we can do something with the game rules to kind of get rid of having to have some of the mods that like do stuff with the peace conferences, for example.
Hi. Something that had me really excited with Waking the Tiger is AI strategies, the AI reacting to the focus tree you picked.
Yeah.
I think this has lots of potential, because if, say, Japan becomes democratic, then you could have the nationalists saying, we don't need the communists, crush them. And these things like that could happen all over the world.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the future things we're going to be working on a lot. In my preferred way of thinking is that like we won't need the historical setting button at all. We'll maybe even have like you decide a little bit up ahead. And we're going to have strategies like this for everything eventually. It just adds a lot of interest, you know, when you have France who starts going commie, when Germany splits, that kind of stuff. It just lets you kind of balance the world in more natural ways, because it just following the focus tree feels very unnatural, right?
Hello. I have a simple question about fuel. Do you think fuel will be handled through the current production and resource interface, or will it be something totally external to that?
So exactly, it's going to be using the supply system that's currently there to kind of fill it. Exactly how it's produced, we're actually kind of testing a couple different versions, because there's a, you know, well, what we want is it to feel like it's a trade-off with your industry, for sure. But we haven't exactly worked out which is the best way yet. I mean, currently we're trying almost like the HOI4 way, where it's like just basically a percentage based on your industry and oil that just gets auto-created. There's other ways you can do it with actual buildings and stuff. But as I said, we're super early, so we're kind of like, we're just testing one way, and we have a couple of options there for what it actually will be.
All right, thank you.
Hi. Do you have any plans for expanding the resistance systems? Because now it's in very poorly shape, and most people just don't care and put every unit on front line.
Yes.
Okay.
No, in this expansion, for me, that's like a big topic expansion thing. It's going to be one of the main features in some expansion. I want to do a lot of changes to that. I feel like the big problem with it almost synchronizes with peace conferences as well, because you have resistance and then you're at peace and there's zero resistance, right? It was a fairly okay abstraction to make when Hearts of Iron came out, and we were like, people are going to play this probably a lot like HOI4 in a historical manner, but they totally don't, and especially in mods. So, you know, then it becomes really important to have resistance. I mean, I've seen mods you go like, you can make cores and stuff like that.
And there is mod for partisans.
Oh, sorry?
There is mod for partisans that can rise up when there is resistance.
Yeah, I'll probably never add that, because it was very annoying in HOI4 to chase armies around. I prefer kind of more like in the direction of, instead of even having police forces, you dedicate a certain amount of resources and manpower to manage areas that you know, because it both hurts performance as well as it's kind of micro to have tiny, you know, military police divisions everywhere, right? But we'll see. It's definitely not for this expansion, it's for a future thing, but it's also that really high up with peace conferences for me. I also think there's a lot of room for cool game mechanics around it, not just like fixing the problem.
Yeah, hi. Military deception was a big part of the Great War once upon a time. Is that something you consider adding into the game to give it even more flavor?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first.
Sorry, military deception.
Deception. Maybe one day. I think it had some interesting uses. It's one of those systems that's really difficult to do with the AI. Like tricking the AI, and the AI trying to trick you is super hard to get right. I think it'd be good in multiplayer. I think it'd be really hard to do it well for single player. It might be possible. I think it's an interesting thing. We've run around with some ideas around it. But I think for it to be good, it still has to use quite a lot of resources, or it's going to be really exploitable against the AI and stuff like that.
Hi. Currently, we have a jet airplane in game. There will be a jet airplane modeling or graphic will be added.
I'm not sure I heard. Can you say again?
Jet airplane graphics.
I'm sorry. Try a little bit further from the mic. I'm sorry. Did you hear what he said?
Jet airplane graphics.
I'm getting this weird echo here, so it's a little hard. Sorry. Just come up and. Sorry. Okay.
Jet airplane.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. So his question is about jet airplanes. I think you guys actually have better sound than I do. For me, we didn't really do that much development with them. I think it's one of those things that comes when we start, if we do time extension thing and really dig into that part, because they come in a little bit late. In fact, the reason that you can kind of bring them in early is almost a bit of a problem with the current tech system. Speaking of which, we'll probably be doing something about the ahead of time calculations, because there's a little bit too many exploits in multiplayer and stuff there for just basically skipping whole parts of the tech tree and stuff like that. But I foresee jet and stuff being something when we start looking at further time periods and stuff like that.
I was just wondering if in Man the Guns you have anything going for submarines or any sort of, like diplomatic ramifications for unrestricted submarine warfare, or any sort of, it might be too early for you to talk about it, but maybe just like the philosophy behind what you want to implement for it.
Okay, so submarines will first of all benefit immensely from the spotting changes. That's really what's ruining them right now. We're also probably going to be doing some kind of passive effects of the submarine warfare. A little bit like we had, the strategic impact from bombing, all stuff like that. We actually have I might as well announce it. We have a diplo action for allowing docking rights as well, so you can kind of do the thing where you can run your submarines from Spain and that kind of stuff. Might be something that other nations aren't super happy with Spain about. The question is it worth going to war about it? Unlike when you have full military access, you can't really attack from there and that kind of stuff, right? Yep.
So I was wondering about the house rules that you could set up. I'm one of the 1% that's running competitive games. And
I think you're more than 1% of the guys here, probably.
Probably. And what I'm wondering is could we have a rule that hides covert actions like boosting party popularity or coups? Because that could be fun for, destroying other countries.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. We haven't really started yet, so it depends what kind of scope we're looking at. So we'll see what kind of powerful thing. The idea is that I kind of want people to be able to mod in all sorts of restrictions. So we're going to try and work on that aspect to make sure that the community can come up with what's best and support us. And we'll have like a framework as a base for what we will be playing in multiplayer, basically at the office to try it out. But we know we play it quite differently to everybody else, so it's important that we can easily hook in other stuff.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
I hope that somewhat answered your question.
Kind answers, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, when you showed the analytics for how many people play competitive versus cooperative, what's your criteria for automatically determining, what game counts as one or the other? Because that sounds like it might be difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult. You're actually on the wrong talk for that. There was Stacy, our magician with numbers. She had a talk earlier today, actually, when she drilled down in exactly how all the components worked. I'll see if I can remember. So, team co-op, if you can, I guess you can read, these are the categories. So team, we identified as, these guys are in the same faction, fighting a common enemy, that kind of stuff. So we knew for sure that they're cooperating. And then we have mixed and free-for-all stuff. I don't actually remember right now what the difference was between. It was like to check. But those are when you're talking about being basically in different factions, but still, say, Soviet Union and the Allies fighting Germany, right? They're still cooperating, but they might go to war later or something. But we checked these. We didn't check wars for, I think, the last half an hour of the game, because a lot of people just end it with going like, woohoo, let's fight my friends, right? So we filtered out that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I'll actually try and dig into that for the dev diary on Wednesday to show the definitions. Yeah, all right. Any other questions? We got 3.5 minutes left. Otherwise, I'll be over at the Hearts of Iron booth for like a half an hour afterwards, if you just want to come and talk to me directly as well. All right, go.
Yeah, so since DoD, you have sort of merged the non-aligned path with like monarchist, but even in the latest change to how you switch, this was not implemented for the monarchists. Are there plans to like either make non-aligned a fully fledged ideology or to split monarchists off from non-aligned?
For me, I actually don't think monarchists should be an ideology. I don't think it really is. I think the way forward there is to work more with sub-ideologies and government forms instead. So there are still kind of free ideologies. I think that fits World War II. But we do a lot more to differentiate inside them. That right now they're just basically names, right? We could do a lot more with that.
So, like for example, like you could have a type of fascism that is monarchist. Is that sort of what you're thinking?
Yeah. How authoritarian is it? Is your king really? That kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi. Is there an aim to make the Navy more important? Because, for example, there are maybe 3 or 4 countries in the game who will build a Navy throughout the game, whereas someone like France, they might go in and just delete all their naval production and just build convoys. Would it be now more important to build and maintain a Navy for this changes, for instance, in submarine warfare?
Particularly for France, there might actually be some stuff that I can't really announce yet. That means that you want to keep your Navy around. So I was talking about naval terrain, right? And it's one of those things that's designed to give you a home advantage. We are trying to aim for a system where, having a small Navy that's you actually put some money into to make good. Well, we don't have money, but time and research effort should pay off. So imagine Germany's running around with a bunch of heavy cruisers and stuff like that, tying up a lot of the Royal Navy, right? That's costing them a lot more than you. So the idea is that even a small Navy should be an irritating little bee that makes you have to burn fuel and resources on chasing them, that kind of stuff, right? And with the terrain advantages and stuff, right? A small Navy could hide around the coastline and be very hard to take out, that kind of stuff. So the idea is we really want the big conflicts only really to happen when there's something big involved, like protecting or stopping a landing, that kind of stuff. I hope that answered. So you got 50 seconds. I've got time for one more question if you go fast.
Yeah. I'm wondering in late game, after World War II is over, usually you'll always see World War III because some country somewhere has a focus that forces them to declare war. Are there plans to make the AI consider not whether they can declare war, but whether they should declare war by taking that focus?
Yeah, I mean, quite often I find it's like Soviets doing something, and they probably should.
The British like
I think
too.
as long as it's Heart of Iron is just World War II, I think it makes sense that you kind of just get continuation after a while. I think what doesn't make sense is that there's no real proper downtime in the middle, right? Where you get rid of something like war exhaustion, have to kind of maybe size down your military, that kind of stuff, right? But right now, since we're only World War II, it's a little bit outside scope. I mean, the game is already kind of done at that point, but it'll be a bigger, important point in the future if we want to expand in any direction. I imagine it's more of an issue for mods. Right, and I think that was it. If you want to talk to me again, as I said, I'll be like half an hour over in the booth, and I think you might still have like a couple of minutes to beat the high score as well. I heard like the new one was big. I hope you like the talk, guys.